Hi and welcome to my playhouse, and today we're gonna talk ESXi 6 servers, and the key word here is servers. How much do you really need to have a server? In my thinking, a server is just like a computer that's on all the time, and it has some tasks that you don't really need to sit and use the keyboard to do. So you have a server running, multiple people or just you can be using that server. And I've gotten a lot of questions. Do I get one of these? And my answer would be yes, get one of these. They're great. It's a lovely server. But then they return and say, I live at home with my parents and I only have my bedroom. Can I sleep with this? And the answer will be not so much. It's not really a nice server to be living with. My background entertainment just disappeared. What do you get if you don't want a beast like that? Well, I've actually found something. I've known this for a bit, but I found that one of these HP normal workstations, or it's not even, I think it's a desktop PC, and it's the model dc7800, and I think also the 7900 works just as well. And I've actually installed this. I haven't even installed it. I just took a USB stick with VMware ESXi 6.0, put it into the server, and I used 2 hours to figure out why it wouldn't boot on that USB stick. After having reinstalled the operating system and flashed the BIOS, I was actually able to boot from that USB stick. I think this computer was with pretty much the original firmware. So the first thing, if you're gonna copy what I'm doing here, firmware updated to the latest version. That will save you a lot of trouble. Do that on a Windows 7 or Windows XP, so that, well, you just have to install that and firmware updated and you are good to go. You don't have to put on patches and all that good stuff, but yeah, make sure it's up to date with the firmware. So why would you want to run VMware ESXi on your server if it's one of these or one of the big ones? And that's actually because on each of these servers you can normally only run one operating system. And so if you want to try out Windows Server 2008 and a 2012, you want some Ubuntu, some BSD Linux, something else, and something else, maybe the new Windows 10, you want to play around with that without reinstalling your own machine. It's very nice to have a try at it before you go ahead and choose it. And with VMware ESXi, you can put VMware in the bottom of the server, and you can install all the operating systems on top of it, so that you can have like 10 different operating systems on a server like that. Actually, you can have a lot more. It all depends on how much RAM you could scoop into the server and how much RAM the operating system snatches and says, this is mine. VMware is really good at sharing out the RAM. So I did a video where I put 15 Windows 2008 servers on one of these, the IBM 3650, and it only used about, I think it was about 6 gigabytes of RAM for 15 servers. It would probably start to use a lot more RAM if I was actually using the server operating systems for something, but I was able to install it and I could play around with it and I could do some tests and everything was good. If you get one of these, you're interested in getting some RAM for it too, because what you're able to run on it all depends on how much RAM you got. This HP server, it doesn't support a lot of RAM. It supports up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. There is 4 slots in there and each of them can handle a 2 gigabyte block. You can do a lot with 8 gigabytes of RAM on a machine like that, and we'll go have a look at that. I did a search on these on eBay and they start $20 if you're in the States and don't include shipping and stuff like that. 20 bucks and up to about 100 bucks looked like a good price, and there's a variety of different stuff. It's not very normal to get this with 8 gigabytes of RAM. The normal is about 2 gigabytes of RAM, and you want more than that. I think you need at least 4 just to install ESXi 6. I'll have to look that up, but you want more than it comes with. Also, the processor in this, I'm pretty sure you can run with the one it's got, but you can upgrade the processor. These came with they came with dual core processors, but they can handle some quad cores as well. I did a search on eBay for this model of computer, and there was over 1,000 hits. All the prices here are in Danish kroner, so you're probably gonna get them in whatever you use. Let's just have a quick sneak peek inside of this. It's a really ordinary computer. It actually has a real graphics card port, which is really cool for some of the things I want to play with. Otherwise, it has room for one disk over here. It has room for a disk down here, so you're able to put in 2 hard drives in it. You could take the DVD drive out of it and make room for even more hard drives. Maybe some solid state disks, they don't take up that much space. There's the 4 RAM blocks, and the processor is right down here. And in this model it's a E6550, and this one originally came with 1 gigabyte of RAM and 3 years of warranty, which is pretty good for a normal computer. Close it up again. We can have a bit of a look on front of it. There's the CD-ROM drive on-off button. And here is the USB stick that I have installed ESXi on. There is a microphone port and a sound out port. There's a hard drive activity LED and a power on LED. And down here is the speaker somewhere. Let's go around the back. There is 4 PCI expansion cards, or slots for it at least. I can't remember how many there was actually in there. There is a serial port. There is 6 USB connections around the back. There is a network adapter, 1 gigabit, parallel connection for the printer. There's a VGA connection for the screen, 2 PS2 connections for mouse and keyboard, sound connections, power supply, fan, and I forgot the 2 USB ports around here, right there. The little computer has now been put in the rack. I've connected power and network and keyboard and mouse to it, and a monitor. So let's power it on. Power on, and it's gonna boot on the USB stick, I hope. Yeah, and it's boosting ESXi 6.0. It has now booted, and it was actually pretty quick about it. And it tells us here that we are running ESXi 6.0 and the release build version, and that we are running on this machine and this processor. And I have put 5.2 gigabytes in this. Actually there's 5.5 gigabytes. I don't know how it came up with 5.2. There is two 2 gigabyte blocks in there. There's one and 1/2 gigabyte block, 512 megabyte, and it has an IP number. Let's go in and see the computer.
Here we are at my computer, which is a HP model, more or less the same as the one we just played around with in my little data center. This is the 7900 series, which is almost the same. I have just connected to the VMware vSphere client here, and as you can see, I have 58 days left of my trial version thing, evaluation license. When you get VMware, you get all the good toys to start with for the first 60 days. After those 60 days, you're downgraded to the basic features, which is a lot. With this machine, we are not gonna have any problems whatsoever. I'm gonna say okay to this, and we're just gonna have a look at the machine. There is some different stuff in here. We can see it's an HP. There's the model number, 2 CPUs, and the frequency, which is 2.3 something gigahertz, 3.3 gigahertz it seems. And we are in evaluation mode. We have one processor. It has 2 cores. There is no hyperthreading, so we have 2 cores. We have 5.359 gigabyte of RAM over here, and the system itself is using about 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. So that's all cool. The network card seems to be working okay, otherwise I would not be able to connect to this. I actually had a bit of an issue just before I started recording this. I was not able to connect to the server, and it seems that when I made that USB stick I had it connected to a server with 4 network connections, and that was teasing me. I had to select the right one. I can see that we are running the Lenovo version of ESXi 6.0, and that's really what I want to play around with. We can see we have an issue up here. No data store has been configured, and there is no non-persistent storage, which means that I'm running this off a USB stick and it's not able to like save its logs files and stuff like that onto that USB stick. So it's complaining about that. It's not satisfied. But more or less we have a running system here. This is pretty much all good. Actually, it's very impressive, the amount of things we have here. Very cool. I want to reinstall this ESXi host. We have, let's configure, let's see, the storage. Add storage. Disk, yes. We have a local hard drive. It's 160 gigabytes. It only shows about 150. And I rather want to have ESXi running from that. So what I want to do is create a bootable USB stick and install ESXi 6.0 on this little server thing. I'm not gonna go through every process because that just takes too long. I'll prepare that now. And the first thing I'm gonna do, I have gone up to VMware's homepage, and I found where I can download VMware ESXi 6.00b. There's a new release since I downloaded it last, so that's a cool thing. Always go up and see if there is something new. So we're gonna download that. And after logging in, it actually came and says here that I don't have the privileges to download that. I'm gonna see if I can get around that. There is something about download trial. We might have to try that. Okay, after a bit of mingling around and had to sign up for evaluation trial thing, I think I'm now able to download the new version. I'll try that, and I should be able to download down here. You have it right there. Manually download this ISO file. And we're just gonna save it right next to the other one I got. And saving it. Another thing we need is Rufus, I think it's called, and that's the way to create a bootable USB stick. The easy way, they say. So I'm gonna download that. Must be a download here somewhere, like right here. Portable, I like that. And we're gonna download that. I found a instruction in how to make an bootable ESXi installation from Rufus, and it's all straightforward. Do this and that, and you can follow along. I just started the Rufus program, and I've been out digging my things through and found a USB stick. This has a Windows 7 installation on it, so we're gonna delete that to put on the ESXi installation. Putting that in, and it found all the things up here. Very nice. We're gonna select our ISO file. That one is the newest, the one I just downloaded. Open that, and it says it right here, new volume label. And we're gonna select 2 passes, and it wanna do this. And if I say no, it's not gonna do it. So yes. Warning: I'm about to delete my drive. Yes. So deleting that. This just takes a while. And it has completed. So that was how easy that was. So we can close. Right now I'm shutting down the little machine to install the new ESXi software. And I'm gonna be putting it in here instead of the one that's there. And we're gonna install ESXi, VMware ESXi 6.0 on the local hard drive. And it has just shut off, so exchange one USB stick with
another USB stick and power it on again. And there we are, the installation, and we're gonna be installing that. And it's ready for the installation. Next, read the license agreement and press F11. There we are. And we have two hard drives, or we have the local storage, or we have the USB stick that we are right now installing from. We could probably install it on that. I'm not going to. Let's use the local storage. Confirm data, yes, we're gonna delete everything. Enter. Select the keyboard. We'll just keep the US default. And I'll enter my secret password. And it comes once again, and I want to confirm that I want to install. We will install. Okay, now the ESXi 6.00 has been successfully installed, and I'm gonna remove this stick down here. Where is it? There it is. There we are. And I have removed the USB stick so that it's not gonna boot on that again. And it's gonna boot for the first time. And it has booted already. I must say, it's really fast compared to regular servers. This boots a lot faster. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna configure the networks. There we are. Configure the network. And I wanna configure some IP version 4. I wanna set a static IP. I always use that. And we're gonna go. Go with number 68 like before. The rest is okay. Enter. And I'm gonna disable IP version number 6. I'm not using that yet. Okay. And to complete that, it's gonna ask for a reboot, and we're gonna give it that. And we're gonna go into the computer and see how this is now.
So we're back in here at the computer, and you might be asking yourself, how much space does the installation of ESXi 6.00 really take? Just did another one, and I installed that on a 512 megabytes USB stick. Let's take it out from here, and this is really old USB stick, only 512 megabytes. So you don't have to use your big new USB stick, you can use an old one. So let's go into the server for the first time. Just gonna shut that down and shut that down. And when you have installed a new ESXi server, it comes with its own web page. Advanced. This is a lot of warning that this is so unsafe, but it's really not that bad. You're on your own network, and what you need to do is download vSphere client for Windows. Press that and it will download, and you install that. I have already installed it, so let's see how that looks. I have it right there, and we're gonna put in the password. When we have just installed the server, we are root, and the password is the password that we configured out there at the installation. And we're gonna be going into the server. So this is more or less what you get. I have 60 days left in my evaluation mode, and I have included this in my vCenter server thing, but we're just gonna ignore that. Now we have our own ESXi 6 server. I'm just gonna get rid of that icon again. And what can we use that for? Well, we can install servers. So to do that, we go in here. I right click on this and choose new virtual machine, and click on that. You can choose typical or custom. Let's just go for the custom to see more options. Here we can give the server a new name. Let's just call it server. And I know that I have a 2008 image. It's an R2. I think it's a standard image on my computer that we can try and install. And we have a data store, that's the local hard drive in the computer out there. And it's about 140 gigabytes of free space, so we're gonna install the machine on that one. In here we can choose the virtual hardware that the virtual server we are about to install is presented. And from there is different hardwares in the different version of ESXi. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm gonna choose this one because we are using this client and we don't want to get into some trouble. We can always upgrade it, we can't downgrade it. So I'm choosing version number 8. That doesn't come with a warning triangle thingy. So next. And it actually guessed, or we can install all of these operating systems. Go from DOS, Windows 95, 3.1, XP, Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Server 2003, 2008, 2012. It's just the Windows servers. If we go into Linux, we get all of these. A lot of Linux. Others. We have a list of other thingies that we can install. We can install some Mac OS, some FreeBSD, and OS2, Novel NetWare, Oracle Solaris. Well, let's go back to the Windows, and that's the one we want. Thank you. We're gonna choose the 2 CPUs that we got. Next. 4 gigs of RAM is okay. And here it's actually important to notice that I can actually give the server more RAM than I've got. We can give the server, we can make it believe that it has 32 gigabytes. That would get us into some trouble, but we can go a bit over what we actually have in the machine. Maximum recommended for best performance is like the amount of RAM that we have available in the server right here, 5.36 gigabytes. Next, network card. There is different, but we're gonna choose this one. It's very standard. Next, SCSI adapter. We are always recommended the best one. And we're gonna create a new disk for it. We have some options, they are more advanced. Right now we're just gonna create a new one. We're gonna go with the 40 gigabytes that it recommends us. And we're gonna go with thin provisioning. Thin provisioning means that we are not gonna be using the hard drive. It's not gonna reserve all 40 gigabytes for this machine. It's gonna give us a little chunk every time we need some more hard drive. And that's really smart, because with a 140 gigabyte hard drive available, we will very soon run out of that disk space. 40 gigabytes is good, and this is all good. And here we get an overview. I'm gonna edit this, continue, and I just want to show you that I want to get rid of the floppy drive. I don't need that. Remove, finish, and it will create a server over here for us. We need to get the ISO file from my computer to the host, and to do that we go over here to the data store, right click, data store, browse, and I would like to create a little folder for that. New folder, yes, I'll call it inst underscore ISO. Cool. And we'll go down to that folder and we'll upload a file. You can upload a file or a folder. Upload file. And I have some ISO files right here. You're just gonna pick one, that one, and upload that. Open. That's gonna take a little bit. Our file is just about done. Let's just give it a two last seconds. There we are. And we can go up here to our server again, and we can edit settings. Edit settings, get us in overview of the hardware that is presented to this virtual machine. We can add some more if we need something, but we don't. I'm gonna go into the CD-ROM drive and I'm gonna select a data store ISO file, browse, and that brings us up to our data store. And that's the local hard drive, and here is my folder with the ISO file. Here is my Windows 2000 server ISO file, and we're gonna select that and OK. And I need to press this one up here, connect at power on, for this to work, and OK. Now we can turn on the screen for the server by pressing this button. We get an extra window up here. That's like the monitor of the virtual server, and we can power that on. Now the server will power on and start the installation of the 2008 that we just presented it with. I'm not gonna bother you with that, but I'm gonna install it and we'll get back and see how that looks. So the installation of server 2008 is completed. We can see it running here. It has 4 GB of RAM and it's using 575 of those right now. There we are. Here we have the overview of this virtual server. It thinks that it has the CPU that the host has, but otherwise a lot of the things in here in the device manager just takes a second. It hasn't started before. Here is a lot of stuff that it has a standard VGA and stuff like that. And it's a Windows 2008 R2 standard server. So that's kind of neat. We have our own Windows 2008 server running. To get better performance of the screen and stuff like that, there is something called VMware tools that we can install, and they are up here. When you're stuck in this window, the normal thing to press is Control-Alt, and you get out again. So, but we go up here and we can install VMware tools. That's very important because it gives the operating system some extra tools because we are in VMware. The VMware tools will be presented to the server as a CD-ROM. Let's see if it's available. There it is. It's a DVD. If we press that, double click actually, it will start the installation. Next, typical, next, install. The VMware tools has now installed. We can press finish to that. Okay, finish. And it wants to reboot the server. And the 2008 server is starting up again. It takes a bit of time. This is a rather old processor that is in this computer, but you can see it works. We can log in here and we have our server running. I can now run outside of the screen, and when I go inside of the screen I'm on this computer, and when I go outside I'm on my normal desktop. The server is running a little bit slow because I have been doing other stuff in the background. I've moved the Windows 10 machine over on this host as well. So now this old machine is running 2 virtual machines. It's running the 2008 R2 and it's running a Windows 10 machine. When you just boot a machine, it uses a lot of memory, and that drops down when the machine slows down again. But let's go and see what the Windows 10 machine looks like. It has 2 virtual CPUs, and it has the virtual hardware 11, which is the hardware that can give me some problems because I'm not able to manage everything with that hardware. And it has 4 GB of RAM. So we have 2 servers. We have 2 virtual machines, and they both have 4 GB available RAM. We can see that if we click here and we get memory size. Yeah. They both have 4 GB of RAM to their disposal, but we only have 5.6 or 5.2 something. You can see that there. We have 5.359 GB of RAM. Right now we're using 4.819 GB of RAM. Almost using all the RAM, but I would bet I would probably be able to start up one more server and they would start to share the memory more. Everything will slow down. They are in need of memory, but it can run. It will go slow, but it will run. Let's go into the Windows 10 machine. Here is the Windows 10 machine. And that is running as well. I don't know what we can do on this. We can see the properties for the machine, and it's also running on that core of processor. So that's pretty neat. I have 2 virtual machines running on that server. Now they are both using 4 GB of RAM. I can turn that down if I want to conserve more memory. I can tell the machines that they don't have that much RAM, and they will still run. They'll run a bit slower. Now we can see that the server 2008 is using less RAM because it's settling down, and VMware is able to snatch that RAM back from it when it's not using it. The Windows 10 machine, we can see if it has VMware tools installed, and install those. They run. I have 2 machines running, and I could probably install some more.
So the little HP machine works just fine. The ESXi 6.00 installed without a glitch. It's absolutely perfect for this. It's only able to do 8 GB of RAM, and that's kind of limited it to some extent, but it's a really good beginner. If you don't have that much money but still want to play with high-end virtualization software like ESXi, this is a great place to start. Get one of these little machines, maybe the 7900. I think that's able to do 16 GB of RAM, and you would be able to install more servers. I haven't tested that yet, but the 7800 series will do 8 GB of RAM, and well, you could run 3-4 machines on that. And if you're just doing some Linux machines, you could probably do a lot more. But yeah, if you're in India, money are usually a bit smaller in India. You can get a long way with a machine like this. So thank you for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and leave me a comment below if there is something that I missed, or if you tried another machine that works just as well. Leave a comment below and like this video, of course. Thank you very much. Have a really nice day. Bye bye.